Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Our Years. This is Barry.
I'm Rima.
And in today's episode, I thought it would be fun to go through the 36 questions that make you fall in love with someone. It's funny because I think I've mentioned this to you before, that there are like these 36 questions, and I think a lot of people know about it, but I just never thought, I was just like, oh no, it's not something, I don't believe it. But I recently came across a video where a psychologist was talking about it.
Okay.
And apparently it's scientifically or psychologically backed.
Okay.
This like 36 questions on the list. And once you go through these 36 questions, you should fall in love with them.
You should.
So we're going to put it to the test.
Yeah, see if we fall in love with each other.
But it's actually funny because then I went through the list, and I think the last few questions I think are a lot more deep.
Yeah.
And I don't think like that's like relevant to our friendship. And so maybe that's what ultimately builds up you.
So I guess we won't fall in love is what I'm hearing.
I guess so. Thank goodness for that.
I love that you were researching this. Was this part of your GPTing on what to talk about in a first date?
No. So, okay. This was not a research. It just came up on my socials. But I think someone mentioned it to me before, and I was like, there's no way that, in one sitting, when you go through 36 questions, you'll fall in love with this person, right?
Yeah.
I think there has to be a lot of like
experiences that you need to share with someone.
Together, exactly. And also like spend time with them, right? It's not like in one sitting after you go through these 36 questions, bam, boom, sold.
I also feel like theoretically a lot of people might give the right answer, or what sounds really good, or what sounds like an interesting answer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's really like backed up in real life.
That's true. I agree with you. And I think like you really do need to experience, like you said, something with that person to really know how they would react, or if their answer actually aligns with what they said in those 36 questions.
Yeah.
I think to some extent, I'm not saying that the 36 questions don't work, but I think to some extent, right, like the 36 questions are a way for you to lead into a more deep conversation with your partner. And I think like that is what creates emotional connection. And I think ultimately the emotional connection what helps you get to know that person better or on a deeper level and feel like you're potentially falling in love with them.
Yeah, I looked at the questions too, and some of them are really, you need to be very vulnerable when you answer them.
Right.
And I think maybe the 36 questions are like a forcing function to have those conversations with someone, and that's the trigger.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that too.
Yeah, but obviously, given this is a friendship,
is it a friendship?
I do not want people to be mistaken.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But I think we kind of like filtered some of the questions, and I thought it would just be fun just to kind of like get to know each other better, given we've only known each other for 3 years. In the grand scheme of things, I feel like 3 years isn't that long.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
But I feel like I've known you for so long.
Maybe because we live together.
Yeah.
And you get to know a person way more when you live with them.
I think so. Yeah. I think that makes sense. But yeah, let's jump right into it.
Yep. So the first question is, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest?
So this is a good question. I think like contrary to maybe people's initial thought is, oh, I'm going to invite someone like famous or like someone historical.
Yeah.
I actually don't. I think I just want it to be someone who is, I think in my world, someone inspirational and someone that is an example to me in the sense that they are living their life to the fullest. So someone that popped in my head immediately is someone from work, and I recently got to know him better. And he's just someone who is truly the definition or epitomizes living life to the fullest. Like what he does at work is like he's a manager, and he's got like some like 20 people under him. He's very good at his job. Everybody at work loves him. Senior directors, VPs respect him. And he's just so full of life. And at the same time, like in his personal day-to-day, he's got so much going on. Like he's prepping for the marathon. He's like going to different countries on weekends. And he's just like doing so much, like not even just like travel, right? Like he's in these like singing competitions. He's an alumni at at a Ivy on the East Coast, and so he like flew in for the weekend to go sing a cappella with them because that's what he does. And like he's just so great. And in the mornings, because I follow him on socials, and like he's up at like 6 o'clock running to prep for his marathon. Then he spends his day at work, you know, and then he on weekends he's like jet setting and off to another country, and he's just so good with people. It's funny because the other day I sent him an iCal for lunch,
As one does.
as one does, and like we went down to the cafe, and because he's so popular in the sense that everybody just wants to chat to him, he was like, literally, Barry, you need to come here quick because people are asking if they can sit down and have lunch with me, because like he went down before me, and I was just wrapping up some meetings. And it's funny because as I was going down, like literally people were like standing around him chatting to him.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's just like, he never goes down to lunch for that exact reason, because he feels like nothing can get done. And so it was an honor to me that he actually wanted to sit down and like have lunch with me. And he's like, yeah, he made a joke, and he was like, yeah, I actually filter all the people out and I actually made time for you to have lunch.
Wow.
But he's so great in that sense. And I feel like for a dinner guest, I just want someone who can have a good time with. Like, I feel like if I had to invite like someone famous or someone historical, it would kind of take away from the authenticity and the realness in just having a good dinner over good conversation and sharing ideas and experiences. And so, yeah, I think I would just pick someone that I think I look up to, and someone who is going to be a good time.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you? I think you have like dead and alive, right?
Yeah, I have dead and alive. So the person alive that I would want to have dinner with is Beyonce.
Obviously. I knew this was coming.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was like so mysterious.
You like are obsessed with Beyonce. I don't think
I am
it's
obsessed with Beyonce.
unknown to the world that you are.
Yeah, so I would invite Beyonce. I think she's fascinating, just irrespective of what she's achieved, or maybe that's also what the fascination is, that she came from a background that wasn't, you know, very affluent or very influential, and what she's done with her life is incredible. And I think she's managed to stay relevant for so many years because she's constantly reinventing herself. Like, she came out with a country album and it won album of the year. And I think she was pigeonholed a lot because she was a black woman. And I think she's just defied every expectation of her. And she's so hardworking. And I
you
think
say it like you
I
know her in person.
I watch enough documentaries. But I think I just like want to have a conversation with her about what it's been like to go from, you know, I don't think it's rags to riches, but just like having this conviction that you're going to make it and constantly working hard and having so many setbacks but still striving. I just love when women like achieve their dreams. It's just so nice to see. That Nike commercial that has I think it's called the Dream Crazy commercial. It just has these stories of women who are portrayed in a certain way because they are women, like emotional or hysterical and stuff. And it just shows what they've achieved in their life. Yeah. I cry every time I see that commercial. So yeah, I think her story is fascinating and I just want to talk about it, like without the cameras or anything. Just have like you said, just sit down and have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
And get a private concert maybe.
Okay, I don't know if she'll agree to that.
She's Beyonce.
She's probably like $1 million by the hour.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd really want to have dinner with her. And the person who is dead I'd want to have dinner with is probably, it's a tie.
Okay.
Between Nikola Tesla and Van Gogh. Because I think they were both really misunderstood in their time. And I don't think they saw any of the success. I mean, they didn't get a chance to see any of their success, right? They both passed before. And I just want to like show them what the world is because of what they created. And at least for like a few hours, have them like see what they did and how respected and appreciated they are.
Second question is, would you like to be famous and why?
Yeah, I want to be famous.
Straight up answer.
Yeah, because I think you're famous because you've achieved. Okay, I don't want to be infamous. I don't want like to get cancelled. I think I want to be famous for creating something that didn't exist previously that is very useful. And so one of the things that I can immediately think of is maybe a diagnostic device for women. Because I think women's diagnostic tools are horrible. It's made with like steel, it's cold, it's uncomfortable. I think a lot of women just don't do regular health checkups because it's so painful.
Yeah.
Because the devices just, there's no innovation.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I would want to do. Create devices that are comfortable, but also very effective. I think that's a space that's really lacking. What about you?
I don't think I necessarily want to be famous. Like, I don't want to be walking on the streets and someone can like, you know, be like who that person is. I think famous in the sense of influential. Like, I think I want to be influential and able to like move a needle, right? I think the reason for that is because I want to create impact in the world. And I think it's quite interesting because both of us are like very for women and want to do things for women in this lifetime. For me, I think a particular area that I would like to be influential in is, at least in Asia, I feel like women still live a life that is gender unequal. And so I would like to be someone who is influential enough to give guidance and impact the way that women speak out and vocalize themselves in Asia. Having lived in Asia for 7 years, my observation is that women are still expected to speak a certain way, do certain things, you know, and like, I don't want to say this and make it seem like, you know, Asia is very lacking in that front. Obviously, it's nothing compared to like maybe Middle Eastern cultures. I want to say it's more so women, for example, like, and I can only speak from my personal experience, right? But when I was in Asia, I think my parents or like family members are expecting me to like get married at a certain age or, you know, go down a certain path for a job. I remember like growing up when I said I wanted to potentially be an engineer and a mechanical engineer, actually.
I didn't know you want to be a mechanical engineer.
Yeah, it's initially I wanted to be a mechanical engineer because I like doing things and I like building things with my hands. And I was told that, you know, that's a men's job because, you know, it's like heavy lifting. And I know they mean well in the sense that, you know, they don't want me to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
But I think that is like just the stereotype of what like mechanical engineers do. What mechanical engineer nowadays is lifting a finger at like the tech companies, like like the equipment do the job, right? You know, like, I'm not understanding this. But then again, I think it's like the older generation who doesn't have exposure to what mechanical engineering actually is, right?
Yeah.
It's in their mind. So the person that actually told me this, the family member, was actually a mechanical engineer himself.
And they had to do like a lot of laborious work.
Yes. And so to him, that's what it meant to be a mechanical engineer. But little does he know that, you know, like nowadays, and this was, mind you, like 10, 20 years ago when I was deciding on what I wanted to be, right? Yeah. And so obviously a lot has changed. And I think like I've also changed my mind now that I'm an engineer or was an engineer. And then now think differently of it. But I think at the end of the day, right, like I want to be someone influential enough to encourage women to vocalize and speak up. Another example of why I thought this was lacking in Asia is I was described as being outspoken when I was in Taiwan, and obviously outspoken negative connotation in the sense that, you know, you're too opinionated, or, you know, women should be more submissive,
like don't make noise.
Yes, right, don't make noise, etc. And so like I just did not like that environment at all. Additionally, like beauty standards, right, like women are supposed to be skinny, women are supposed to be like, you know, dress fair or dress a certain way. And I just did not like that at all in Asia. We live in such a beautiful world in the sense that different variety, that's what makes the beauty of the world, right? And if everybody was just the same, like what beauty is there? Yeah, so I think like at the end of the day, I'd really hope to become someone influential in that sense. I can do backstage stuff. I can do like behind the scene things that move this and also impact this, but I don't necessarily need to be on the front page of a magazine to be impactful and influential.
Did you have any role models that were doing that in Asia that you wanted to sort of emanate?
I wouldn't say role models, but I remember when I was in Asia, I felt very frustrated by this environment, and I came across a influencer on Instagram, and she was someone who was doing exactly that. She was using her influential
Platforms.
Yeah, to kind of encourage women to speak what they will. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to speak your mind. It's okay to cry about things. It's okay to ask for what you want. And I thought that that was very inspirational to me. She's not someone famous, but she was just doing so good in terms of being that influence, a positive influence for the women in Asia, especially the younger generations. Yeah. How about you? Did you have any influential inspirations?
I mean, I think growing up, my mom was one of the only mothers in my friend circle who had a job. Like,
oh, interesting.
Like she had like a day job. I mean, I think having kids is also like a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
But she had like a 9 to 5, and she was an entrepreneur. She started her own school. And I don't think there were any other entrepreneurs in her life to gain inspiration from. It's just something that she, like education is something that she feels very strongly about.
Right.
And she wanted a certain standard to be had in Bangalore. And so she started that. So I think in hindsight, I sort of took that for granted. I just assumed that this is what women
Normal.
do.
Right.
Yeah. And then as I grew up, I realized that she was actually one of the few people who were doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt the gender disparity so much personally, because I think in my school both guys and girls were treated bad. No, I'm kidding. But I think I felt it in certain aspects, like women were not allowed to play certain sports.
Interesting.
Yeah, only the guys were encouraged to play certain sports. Like we had a volleyball team and there was no girls volleyball team. Even basketball, like I think a lot of people had to like fight for it to have to have a girls team.
Right.
Yeah, so I think I saw it then, but I was not particularly interested in sports growing up, so I didn't care. I remember there was also no football team. And it was a big deal because one of my really good friends, she was really good at football and she wanted to play on the team and there was no team. And so a lot of the guys petitioned for her to play on their team.
That's cute.
That was so cute. And it was like one of those things that until it had happened, I was like, oh yeah, we really need a girls' football team. And so I think the conditioning gets really strong, right? If you don't see it happening, there's no trigger for you to stop and think, why is this happening, right? But then when she was like, I want to play, and she's really good, so yeah. And she ended up playing. She played for one of the, so we had like houses in school, like different houses, so the houses played each other.
Right.
And so she played on one of the houses.
I think like Taiwan or Asia is progressive, but I think there are still underlying social or cultural gender inequalities and problems.
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying, because even my mother, who I think is very pro women doing things, we had gone to a wedding, I think a couple of years back, and one of my cousins had just had a kid, and she and her husband were attending this wedding with this kid. And I think this kid was just having a bad day. She was crying a lot. And only my cousin's sister was sort of pacifying this kid. The whole wedding must have been like 3-4 hours. She was just taking care of her kid, and she and her mom were taking care of the kid. And I went back home and I was talking to my mom about that, and I'm like, did you notice that her husband didn't pick up the kid even once?
Yeah.
And my mom's like, that's totally fine. It's like the mother's role. And so even this was like 2 years back.
Wow.
So even stuff like that, even someone like her who's so pro women's rights and equality, even she's very, like, I was shocked at that response.
Yeah, I'm also shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I think like I feel like I don't want to say that Asia in general is like that. I think there are a handful of people who are like that. And I think we're leaning towards going towards an equal gender society.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a long way to go, right? I think to get everybody on the same page and being like, this is a gender equal relationship and community, I feel like it's still a long way. As opposed to here in Western culture, right? Or in the US, the biggest thing that I noticed when I moved here to Sunnyvale is when I was driving home, it was always the dads strolling the kids after work. Like you would just, I would see I wouldn't say like 90% are dads pushing their kids or taking their kids to the playground or going on walks with the kids, right? And with the dogs.
Yeah.
Right. And it was so interesting to see that because I think in Asia, we're so used to seeing women being the one taking care of the kids and taking them to the park or, on a stroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it's just very interesting to see that. Obviously, I do want to say like credits to like my cousin. Well, I don't want to say credits, but like they are an example to me to show me that we're living in a world that is working towards that because my cousins they just had children and they're both very hands-on parents. They're both brothers and they do a lot at home. They change the diapers, they take care of their kids, they take the kids to school, they drop them or pick them up, and when we're at family events, they're the ones pacifying the kids and letting the mom eat.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so I think like we are working towards that. But from my observation, obviously, outside of like my family, I've seen, where men are still doing their own thing while women are the ones pacifying the children.
Yeah. I think two things to that. One is, I wonder if it's a generational thing. Maybe the needle is moving in the younger generation, right? And maybe it's not a East or a West thing. Maybe it's just our peers or our cousins our age are parenting so differently from what our parents did versus what their parents did, right? I think every generation is getting better. And I didn't grow up in America, so I don't know if that it's better. When people were growing up,
That's true.
in our age group, if they experience the same thing as us,
Yep.
we should ask some of our American friends.
I think I agree with you. I think it is definitely a generational transition, right? And it's going to take time to transition, which is why I'm saying, we're moving towards that direction and it's going to take a while before we get there. But I think some cultures move faster than the others.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about Western versus Eastern culture. And I think a big reason for that is because the generation to generation influence is stronger, I think, in Asia, where, I feel like our parents or all the generations are more vocal about doing things a certain way.
Yeah. Because they think they're older, they have experience.
Right.
And so they feel the need to impart that wisdom down to the next generation.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I feel like, and they play a huge role in like family gatherings, right? And so they always are opinionated about the way that you should bring up your kids and such. So I think maybe that has a huge part to play in the speed at which the transition is happening. This household.
This 2-member household.
Just this 2-member party. I think we are similar in that way, right? Like I think we want to see women achieve and we want to see a change in our lifetime for women to be recognized. Hopefully, I don't want to say too much about it because what's valuable is actually doing it and the action of getting there. So I don't want to speak. There's a term in Mandarin where you speak into the void. So nothing really happens and you're just all talk. So we'll work on it. I think when you mentioned, your mom is a big influence in your life, and, she did so much growing up. I think obviously, the reason I don't bring my mom up, which is strange now that I think about it, is because, I'm just oh, that's a given. Every woman's inspiration is their mom. But I can't say that, right? Because I think I'm just very privileged that I had a mom that really showed me what it means to be an strong independent woman. And even my godmother, I think she epitomizes like a strong independent woman. She doesn't have kids, but she just lives life to the fullest. I think that's a common theme for me and what I strive towards. So going back to the first question, yeah, I think I'd like to have someone who can show me how to live life to the fullest. I think that's always been a common theme in the way I pursue things and the drive to what I want to do. And so, yeah, I think my mom and my godmother, they're just people who are inspirations in the sense that they have so much influence on me in the way I do things and the way I want to and what I want to become. So, yeah, or who I want to become.
Okay, the next question is, before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say? Why?
Who even still says telephone call?
That is the incorrect takeaway from this.
A phone call. I think yes and no. Majority of the time, no. I think I'm pretty confident in myself and like I just speak whatever comes to mind, and I think I don't really need to rehearse it. But if it is an important phone call, for example, like maybe an interview, or maybe a call to arrange something with someone that is respectful and their time is limited, then I think I do kind of rehearse it just to make sure I get to the point very quickly and make sure that what I want to say is clear and concise. How about you?
I feel like I don't rehearse before the call, but after the call I do a little post-mortem to see how I feel about it.
Interesting. That's like difference.
Yeah, I feel like I do it after. So because I was like, okay, what could I have done better? And
but then do you take that takeaway to the next?
Yeah, but I don't rehearse before. Yeah, I think when I do a rehearsal, typically even if it's like a trial run at work, I get to in my head about certain things, and if I miss a point that I rehearse, then I get so stuck on that, and there's no flow anymore. So I think for me it makes my life harder if I do a rehearsal.
Interesting. I think like for example for me at work, using that as an example, when it's like a VP forum or a director forum, then typically like the EPMs will run through like the highlights, right? And I will like rehearse that because I feel a lot more structure compared to when I don't do it.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot more structure and flow when I do it.
Yeah, the other way I'm reading it is, that's almost like preparation, right? Which you should do if you are good at your job. Right. But I think rehearsal, the way I was reading it, is like you literally have like a make-believe conversation with someone.
No, that I don't do.
Yeah.
Okay. Different interpretations. Yeah. I think rehearsal in my mind is just like, okay, these are the key points I want to hit. So like a pre-run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like say it in front of the mirror and like do voice modulation.
No, that I don't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just do like to gather my thoughts and structure my thoughts into words so that I can articulate better.
Yeah. I do the postmortem when I'm having a shower.
Yes, we know this. So I remember when I first moved in with Rima, and I would just come home, and her bathroom, like in Sunnyvale, it was like by the door. So as soon as I come into the door, I'm just like, I hear her talking in the bathroom. And for the longest time, I was just like, I wonder if she's got someone in there. And then she would come out, there's no one in there. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, maybe she's on a phone call with someone because that's how real her conversations are. She's literally, and I don't hear like obviously like word for word what you're saying, but it sounds like a full-on conversation.
Yeah. Like it's very like I emote a lot, so like I'm like fully laughing in the middle of it.
It's so funny. Like I would just come in and she'd be laughing as if, because I've also heard her when she's like on a phone call with her friends catching up from her bedroom, and like she would have like the biggest laugh. She does the exact same thing when she's in the shop by herself. Like you just laugh at yourself.
This is why dating I find is so challenging, because I have such a fun time by myself.
Truly. Okay, I like this next question because I feel like it comes up on dating apps, and I always use this prompt.
Love that.
What is a perfect day, or what does that look like to you?
Okay, so I wake up well rested.
That's like 1 p.m. Half a day gone.
Perfect. Yeah. So I wake up. I don't set an alarm. I just wake up when I wake up.
1 p.m. like I said.
And yeah, I'm well rested. And then I go on a little coastal hike. So I have the water next to me. And I go on this little hike. And the weather's perfect in the sense where the sun is out, but I don't need to wear layers.
Correct.
So the sun and the wind are optimum.
This is your perfect day, not something you can control. The weather you cannot control.
It's my perfect day, Barry.
Look at that's the perfect day in your control.
The perfect day is when the sun's out and it's bright and I don't have to layer.
Okay.
That's the perfect day.
Okay.
So then I go on this coastal hike,
Okay.
right? With some dogs. There are just dogs around me.
Okay.
And me and these dogs, we go on this hike. And then it's a very gentle hike. It's the kind of hike where you're challenged, but you're not like breaking into a sweat.
Okay.
You know, that's the hike. And then I come back and then I have like an early lunch.
It's already 1 p.m. You go on this hike. By the time you finish this hike, it'll be 3
Time is not
p.m.
important.
3 p.m. is not an early lunch in my opinion.
First of all, you assume that I'm waking up at 1. In this
You said
perfect day,
without an alarm.
I've
which
been waking
means
up at 6:30 without an alarm the last few days. I don't know why, though.
that's
I
not
hate
usual.
it. I hate
Yeah,
it.
That's not the usual.
I know. I'm like, God, I want to be asleep, but here
That's
I
what
am.
I'm saying. That's not the baseline. You should operate on your baseline.
6:30. So then after this coastal hike, I come back home and I have an early lunch or a brunch situation with my family.
Okay.
And my extended family also. My cousins can also be there. My sister, my parents. It's cute. Only the people I like from my extended family.
Okay.
And we have a really cute lunch. And the food is delicious. And people are day drinking. And everyone has cute little wine buzz.
I don't think you have a good sense of time, but go for it. In your perfect day, you're basically saying time is unlimited.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the weather is perfect.
Yep.
And so then I have this early lunch / brunch with my family. Then I take a cute little nap.
This is what I mean. Again, no time sensitivity here.
And I take a nap. And then I wake up. And then I meet some friends. And we all catch up. And it's nice. And no one's stressed in my perfect day. Everybody's in the best of moods.
Mm-hmm.
There are no problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then I catch up with my friends. And then we all go to a concert.
Okay.
I want music
Okay.
in this perfect day. And so we go to a concert and it's really nice. And it's the kind of concert where the crowd is just perfect. Like it's not too many people, it's not too few people. Vibes are high.
Okay.
And then we go to this concert and then I go back home and there's no traffic. And so I go
There's
back
never
home.
traffic when you go after a concert anyway, because it's like usually
If you go to bed at 10, which you go to bed at, you don't know what's happening in the outside world.
I'm talking about you.
Yeah. So then it's just, you know, like how sometimes you're in this, like a concert and then the logistics of getting out, like sort of almost
That's
ruin
fair.
the
That's fair.
concert
Yeah.
experience in itself.
Yep.
None of that is happening.
Mhm.
It's perfect.
Okay.
And then I go back home and then I go to bed. And that's my perfect day.
Your perfect day is very perfect.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
hence the perfect day.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I didn't interpret it as like perfect as in the sense like
All the conditions are optimum.
correct, because
Okay.
I would include that condition knowing that it's
Suboptimum.
not realistic.
Okay.
But I like that perfect day. It sounds like a perfect day to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like the perfect weather idea. I'm
Yeah.
going to steal that one.
Of course.
But yeah, I think my one is perfect in the sense that if it was a real day in my life, like what it would look like, I would wake up as the sun rises. Practical. I'm kidding. I would wake up as the sun rises and I would go do maybe some volunteering. So just giving back to the community, maybe like an hour or two. Then I would go to the farmer's market and do a little stroll. The weather is perfect. Blue skies. No need for layering. No need for... not too hot also. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be sweating.
Yeah.
I just want to wear a cute outfit, you know, take a nice little stroll in like a blue sky weather
Mm-hmm.
at the farmer's market. And Oh, I would probably do the farmer's market with some friends. I think that's always cute, you know? And then that would include maybe some lunch. We could take it to the park, go for a little park activity. I would probably do some like outdoor activity. So yeah, like I think when you were talking about hiking, I also had that. I probably do like hiking, also coastal hike. I think Rima and I are very similar in that sense. Like we enjoy the same things.
We like the water.
Yeah, the water. I think a good balance, like the water one side and the mountain on the other. So I really like the Big Sur, that area for hiking. My favorite hike for those of you who are into coastal hikes is Maury Point. Pacifica is also really good. But yeah, Big Sur hits all the right spots. And other outdoor activities, depending on my mood, maybe pickleball, maybe some golf. That would be nice. And then I would catch up with some friends. I think maybe hiking would be like with some friends and family. If you know my family was around, if I'm being
It's a perfect day. Everybody can just fly in.
Like that's the thing, right? When I saw this, I was just like, a perfect day in what my life would be. Like if tomorrow was the perfect day, what would it entail? So I would just be waking up as the sun rises, going to the farmer's market with friends, you know, eating lunch, catching up with friends, doing an outdoor activity, and then maybe parentheses is sunset, depending on the weather. In my perfect day, it would be perfect sunset, and I would go to the beach and watch the sunset. And I enjoy watching the sunset by myself, but friends can be there who appreciate sunsets. So Rima doesn't appreciate sunsets. For my birthday, she was like, Barry, let's go watch the sunset at the beach. And I'm like, I'm not gonna put you through something that you don't enjoy. She was so adamant about it.
Yeah, I was like, we're watching the damn sunset.
We didn't go, but
the weather was really bad.
Yeah, but I appreciate the thoughts. But I'm not gonna make anyone who doesn't appreciate. Like for me, right? It's a very like stress relieving moment of the day. Why are you looking at me like that?
This sunset topic has come up with not just you, but so many people, and they just don't understand my point of view. Because
Yeah.
I was with a friend, and we were at another friend's place. And we were in the hall, in the living room area. I know a lot of Americans don't know what the hall is. So we were in the living room. And then she's like, oh, the sun is setting. Let's go out to the balcony.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, I guess. So we go to the balcony. And I pull up a chair. And I face my chair away from the sunset. So I'm like,
The whole purpose of going
sunset is
outside.
behind me. And she acted like I slapped her across the face.
For right reasons.
She's like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, who hurt you? And I'm like, I can see the sunset from here as well.
yeah, with your back. With your back facing the sun. I don't know what
Sun is
sunset you were
setting
seeing.
all over. I could have seen it. And she's like, man, how do people romance you? It must be really hard.
And it's so funny because I think I was telling you I went for a beach stroll for a date.
Yeah.
And you thought it was like very romantic.
Yeah, that
But
is hella romantic.
to me, I was just like, no, it's just like a normal date.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine you if I told you I was going for a sunset stroll at the beach. You would
I'm
be
like,
like,
wedding when?
but no, like it's a moment of the day to enjoy and take time just to be like quiet.
Look, I like a sunset. Like if the sun is setting and she's right, it's happening right there, I can appreciate a good sunset. But I'm not
Your
going
appreciation is like 30 seconds and you're like, cool,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. But I'm not going to leave the house to go see a sunset. Like if I'm on the beach and the sun is setting, I can appreciate her.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we go to Hawaii, so Rima and I do this annual Hawaii trip. She has to ask, should we go watch the sunsets?
Yeah.
And sometimes like she doesn't feel it, I'll just go watch it by myself. It's like, it doesn't bother me. For me, it's more like appreciation. It doesn't matter who I'm with. Obviously, if it's with people who also appreciate the sunset, that's like elevates it and adds value. But if not, I still enjoy a good sunset. So that is another item. And then lastly, I come home because the sun has already set. So there's nothing else much to
Might
do.
as well just go to bed.
No, there's still activities to do. So I'd probably do like work on like a personal project, you know, I think to top of my day. So I think that's like a perfect day because it hits all the things that I care about most. Yeah. So that would be my perfect day, which I think is pretty practical that I could potentially do in a day.
Yeah.
Provided that I don't have all these other things going on.
Like a day job.
Yeah, well, besides a day job, if this was like a weekend, obviously there's like certain things I have to do, like errands I have to run, right? So
In the perfect day, there are no errands.
yeah, I'm saying how like if this can be a practical perfect day in my life.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
I'm sorry I have errands to run. I'm sorry I have admin work. Okay, next one. When did you last sing to yourself? Literally
While setting up the mic.
correct.
Yeah. So, like 40 minutes back.
Yep.
What about you?
This morning. I think we do this a lot. And we sing to each other very badly. Not that I want to hear her sing.
Some people sing very badly, and some people have asked me if I was auditioning
That's
for
true.
American
You do sing
Idol.
very well.
Oh wow, thanks.
You
I
do.
wasn't expecting
No, you know this. I think you sing well.
Thank
you
you.
know I think you sing well.
Thank you. I wasn't
Why are you
expecting this
acting
roast
as-
to become. See, this is why I'm shocked when you treat me nicely.
What
This
do you
is
mean?
the
I
reaction.
always treat you nice.
Saw the shock on my face when you gave me a compliment. I'm like, no, I'm kidding.
She's being dramatic. But yeah,
Yeah, we sing a lot.
we do.
And I feel like I don't actually actively play music in the house, but you always have
Yes.
music running, I feel.
Yeah. I play a lot of music. And
Yeah.
then Rima just leverages that. See, she does nothing. She has no contribution in this household.
I bring the vibes. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, what would you want?
I think this one's pretty straightforward.
Body, right?
Yeah, like who would pick
Mind.
mind?
Yeah. I'm okay with having a little like mental degradation, but I don't want my body to degrade.
No, I was literally thinking this when I was looking at the question. I'm like, why would someone pick? Leave a comment if you do, want to pick mind. I would like to know your thoughts. Like, no judgments. I'm just curious as to who would pick mind because your body is aging. So you would probably be like 60
Yeah.
with the mind of a 30-year-old.
I don't know, maybe people in academia?
For me, it's more so like I don't want to be stuck in a 30-year-old's mind because I want to grow and learn and improve. And so I want to get to experience all that and accumulate the experiences. But to accumulate the experience, you need a body to accompany that, right? So I want to be 60 and be able to still see the world and do things that I want to do and not have backaches by that point, you know? So yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward for me.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to know why people pick mind. I'm thinking it's just I'm thinking it's more people in academia who want to retain like mental agility for like research.
And they can do that at 60, I feel.
Oh.
But yeah, leave a comment if you do want to pick mine and let us know why.
For what in life do you feel most grateful?
I think this one's pretty, I don't want to say cliche answer, but I think it's pretty straightforward, right? Like I think my friends and my family. I think if I had to like live in a life where I didn't have friends and family to support me, I don't think I would live such a colorful and fruitful life. So I think I'm most grateful for them. I think they're there when I'm like happiest. They're someone I can share my happiness with. And at the same time, when I'm at my lowest, there are also people who are there for me. And I think if I didn't have that, I think life would be so sad and so painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm most grateful for them.
Yeah. You stole my answer when I was going to say my support system.
I said it first.
Okay, well. But I think another thing, okay, if I was going to pick something else, I think I'm very grateful for being able to make the choices that I make.
I was just going to say something similar also. Like having resources and the privilege to do all the things we can do or have been lucky enough to do.
Yeah. Like I chose to move countries
Right.
in my late 20s, and I know not everybody has that. And I was able to do it. I was able to exercise that choice. And I think just even the choices that I make with my body, right? For instance, I know not everybody has that. So I'm very grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah. And also that was my second point too. And then another one I think is health, being healthy and having the ability to do things because we have good health. So what are you guys grateful for? Let us know. Okay. Next question. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
So I've been thinking about this a lot because I feel like since moving to the Bay Area, I've met so many people who are so different from me and have had such different lives than me. So it's interesting to hear about how they were raised and what their life was when they were kids. And I think one thing I wish was different for me is that I wish I played more sports when I was growing up. I think there are so many avenues of my personality that I almost didn't know what to do with. And I feel like maybe playing sports would help with that. Like, for instance, I'm very competitive. And I think if I played sports, I would have a way to...
Like an outlet.
Like an outlet. Or like learn how to deal with that, right? Like now I get competitive. Like when me and you play like rummy, I get so competitive. I'm like, for what?
She's so competitive that when we're sitting and chatting or debriefing after a full day, and I'll be like, I need to go back and read my email, she'll be like, I need to go first. For what?
That's what I mean. I feel like if I played sports, I would have learned how to handle this better. Because I see now my nieces, they're like on the national team for hockey and basketball, and it's so nice to see that. And I think also when I went to undergrad, I met a lot of women who played a lot of sports growing up. And when they talk about that life, I feel like I really missed out. So,
I mean, you can still do it now. It's not too late.
Yeah, I do it.
And you play in a league. Yeah, I feel like it's...
We lost all 3 games last week.
Well, obviously your competitiveness is not coming through, so you need to step up.
Some people are better than me. I can be competitive, but I know when I've met my competition. Yeah. What about you?
This is a PC answer, but it's truly how I feel. But I don't think I would change anything.
This is a very bad answer.
And I think it's just purely because I think I lived a very privileged life growing up. You know, I think my parents gave me the resources and the love that I needed to grow up in a healthy environment. Yeah, I don't think I would change anything. Yeah, I think I agree. I see your point, you know, like you chat to a lot of people and they grow up in such different environments. And I love listening to how other people were raised.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It is, to see the difference, like, especially also like with living in the same area or the same place, and yet you were brought up so differently, or from the same social economic background, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like people are just raised so differently.
Yeah.
But I think I was lucky to be raised in a really good environment. You know, like anything I wanted to do, I could do. Anything I wanted, I got. Like obviously not to say I wasn't like spoiled, I don't think. Like my parents obviously said no to a lot of things that I wanted, but I think they allowed me to get all the things that they believed were helpful resources or tools to make me a well-rounded person. So yeah, I think I was lucky. I think one thing, I don't know necessarily if I would change, but I think obviously my parents were first-time parents, right? And this goes for any parents. Like they're not going to know exactly everything that they need to do to be good parents.
Yeah.
But I think my parents were very focused on like work, very work-driven. And so obviously we didn't get that much time with them. And then we went to boarding school. But I think in general, like I wouldn't complain about it. Like it's a very like minor thing, because you know they still took us on holiday, they still found time to be with us, but I think I would have liked, you know, a lot more family time.
If you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be?
This was so easy and I knew immediately.
Memory.
Okay, wow. I feel so attacked. No, it's actually not memory. It's to not overthink.
Oh.
I think I overthink a lot. I don't think I'm like chronic. I don't think I'm like bad where it's just like I get in my own head. But I do think I spend a lot of time overthinking. And I think it causes worries that aren't necessarily helpful to any situation.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously that's something you can control, and so I'm learning to do that. But yeah.
How are you doing it?
Like when you know you're like overthinking, you just gotta like tell yourself, okay, you don't know the facts, you don't know this, you don't know that, no assumptions, you can't make any assumptions, or you need to tell yourself, okay, you can take a moment to think about it. I think this is not to say I don't want to discourage thinking
or deliberation, yeah,
or like, you know, self-reflection, because obviously I think self-reflection, overthinking, there's like a fine line, right?
I think there's a pretty thick line.
I think it's a fine line.
You can jump to one side very quickly, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. I see
Yeah,
what
like
you're
when
saying.
you're like self-reflecting, right? Immediately then it's very quick that you can just go overboard and start to overthink.
Yeah, and spiral.
And self-sabotage, right? I think it's just like me knowing when I'm about to get there and just being like, okay, no, you don't know facts, you don't know these details, so don't overthink it. And I have to actively be mindful about not overthinking it. So telling myself not to, and then distract myself with something else.
Yeah, the distraction thing. Back when I went to therapy, that like one of my goals from therapy was that I didn't know how to like get out of a spiral. And so the advice that I got from this cognitive behavior therapist was literally like distract yourself.
Yeah, go do something that you enjoy doing. Go to the gym.
Yeah, like physically just get out of that space.
Right.
Yeah.
I usually go for a walk. I think that helps for me. Yeah. So I guess you also have gone through this.
I go to sleep. I'm not
That's
even
one
joking.
way to do it.
Like I literally just put myself to sleep.
I think that works for me sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think about it so much that I can't fall asleep.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Losing sleep over things is the worst.
Yeah, it's bad. How about you? What would be one quality that you would pick?
I picked ability and teleportation.
This is you need to take
You can't tell me my answer is wrong. That's not how you fall in love with people. You can't be like wrong answer.
You need to be practical about your answers.
I'm very practical. Teleportation is the most practical answer. I don't have to spend
Teleportation
time
is
on
not
logistics.
a real thing.
Which is why it's an ability I want to gain.
Ability is not a superpower, Rima. Ability is something you can actually do. That's what
You can't fall in love with this attitude.
That was not the goal of this.
No, the goal is literally to fall in love. That's why we're going through these questions.
Not to fall in love with
each other, yeah.
Yes.
That ship has unfortunately sailed.
It was never there. The ship never docked. I don't understand.
It sailed when we were born because we're straight.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my answer.